in the wall. I lived in a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2-level house. 3 years after moving into my home, my cat started acting strange. It was just the two of us in the house. He suddenly developed a strange fascination with the kitchen wall that sat opposite the oven. The other side of that wall was the living room, but there was a strange distance between the two rooms, allowing for 3 feet of space unaccounted for. My cat had decided that this wall was now the most fascinating thing in the house and refused to leave the wall or even look away. To get him to eat, I had to place the food between him and the wall. This worried me, so I did some research about the house, trying to see why the 3 feet would be unaccounted for. I discovered that my house had been built over 100 years ago and had originally been just the living room, the master bedroom that sat just off it, opposite the front door, and the kitchen at about half its current size, cutting off just past my cat's favorite spot in the wall. The other half of the kitchen and the other 3 bedrooms on the main level had been added on about 50 years ago. And at the same time, they had built the basement with its 3 rooms and 2 bathrooms. All this was added after the original owner's son passed away in a strange accident. After learning this, I decided to remove the wall and see what had been there. We cut a hole in the wall about the size of a door frame surrounding the area my cat loves so much. He kept making strange sounds as I did and started running around my feet in circles. It was the most active I had seen him in months. When I pulled the wall part out, we saw behind it sat a cast iron door. I reached out to open it, but it was locked. I suddenly remembered finding an ancient key when we first moved in. I still had it. It was in my junk drawer. I pulled the key out and unlocked the door, pulling it back towards me to open. As I did, a rush of wind brushed past along with the smell of stale air. Just past the door was a staircase. It only needed the 3 feet to get your head down below the floor, as the stairs were so steep, and looked to be made of stone. The bottom vanished into darkness. I grabbed my flashlight, and my cat and I turned to walk down the stairs. As I passed the door, I noticed there was no keyhole on the inside. I made sure that the door was blocked from closing before we entered. I was about halfway down the stairs when it got so dark I had to turn the light on. The steep staircase was double the length of my normal staircase, making it probably 3 times deeper into the earth. The room itself was as large as the entire upstairs, counting the addition. It was dark. The walls and floor were made of stone. An old wood stove sat in one corner, still burning, casting a slight glow as it did, and boxes sat in another, opposite and diagonal to each other. I went over to the boxes, opening them up. Each one held boys' clothes or boys' toys, all of the possessions of the original owner's young son, who died in a strange accident. I closed the boxes and turned to my left. Only a few feet away from the stairs sat a plywood wall that covered the entire expanse of the room, from wall to wall and floor to ceiling. In the very center of that wall was an old wooden door. I walked over to it as my cat was standing in front of it. I opened the door on the other side and felt as if I had gone back upstairs. The walls were drywall, painted gray like upstairs in the additions. There was a hallway in the center area, a bathroom in the far right corner whose wall had never been built. There were lights in this area and they were on. It appeared to have 3 rooms just off the hallway, one on each side and one at the end. And on the left was a small door, maybe half the size of a normal door. It sat in the very center of the wall on the left of the hallway, and on the wall kitty corner to it was a window through which came sunlight. But it was too bright to see anything through it. I turned down the hallway. The room to the left had no door. It was a playroom filled with toys, literally filled. I was surprised they weren't falling out of the room. The room at the end of the hall also had no door. Its walls were lined with bookshelves that were loaded with books, and it had 4 beanbags in the center of the room. I found that strange. After all, the original owners only had the one kid, right? I turned to the last room, the only one with a door. I opened the door as it was unlocked. Inside looked to be a girl's bedroom. Pink walls, a princess-style bed, a dollhouse, dresses in the closet that sat in the same wall as the tiny room. They had made it thicker to hold such things. Why did they have a room for a girl if they only had a son? I left the room, walking back to the tiny door. Now that it was so close, I could understand what my cat had been hearing, as I heard it too. Scratching, banging, screaming, all coming from the little door. My cat was staring at the door now. I reached out to open the door. I wiggled the handle. It was locked. The screaming, banging, and scratching instantly stopped. The room was silent. I pulled out my ancient key, inserting it into the lock and unlocking the door. Still silent. I opened the door. A tiny room sat behind the door, just large enough for a child to fit into, with a bench of sorts built inside. The door had paint scratched off in a countdown, sets of 5 hash marks covering the entire door and all 3 walls inside. Someone had been locked in here. The skeleton of a small child lay inside the room on the bench. This room had no light, so when the door was closed, it would be nearly pitch black. I closed the door, then walked back out through the plywood wall, closing the wood door behind me. I started walking towards the stairs. My foot was about to land on the bottom stair when something happened. I heard the voice of a young girl right behind me. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I didn't mean to kill Jared," the little girl said. Jared was the name of the son. I spun around, searching the area, but it was just me and my cat down here. I walked to the stairs, about to start up, when my cat bolted past me, impressively taking the stairs 2 at a time. He slipped out the door seconds before it slammed shut. No big deal, as long as it's not locked, I thought. I walked up the stairs. I reached out for the handle, but it was so dark I couldn't find it. I turned my flashlight onto the door so I could see, but that's when I realized the door had no handle. Knowing it's a cast iron door, I highly doubt anyone other than my cat could hear my screams. Not that I have anyone who comes to visit. My only hope now is my phone. I have 5% battery left and only 1 bar of data, so I'm uploading this in hopes that someone can come and let me out. I'm pretty sure the door's unlocked still, but I can't open it from down here. Please hurry. I'm pretty sure the little girl's ghost is still here, and I bet she's angry.